Good day. I'm Mrs. Ramonita Florentino, your science teacher. For the fourth quarter, third week and fourth week, our topic will be chemical reaction. Okay, a chemical reaction follows the laws of conservation of mass, which state that mass is conserved in a chemical reaction. Chemical equation should show this conservation in terms of atoms. The same number of atoms of each element must appear on both sides of a chemical reaction. But writing down the chemical formulas of reactants and product does not always result in equal numbers of atoms. There is a need to balance equation to make the number of atoms equal on both sides. Okay, our objectives is apply the concept of the law of conservation of mass in balancing chemical equations. But before we proceed, let us try to identify the difference between subscript and coefficient using the given equation of 2 moles of aluminum and 3 moles of chlorine produce 2 moles of aluminum chloride. Okay, for the product of 2 moles of aluminum chloride, let us try to answer the following question. What number represents the coefficient? Okay, very good. It is 2. As you can see here, the 2 is a whole number that is in front or before a chemical formula. Next, what number represents the subscript? Okay, very good. It is 3. 3 is at the right sides of the chlorine. The 3 here indicates the number of atoms in the preceding elements. How many atoms of aluminum in the equation? Okay, 2. How many atoms of chlorine do it have? Okay, very good. It is 6. How did we get 6? We just multiply the 2 that is the coefficient with the subscript that is 3 to get the resulting product of 6. Okay? Let's proceed. Since you know already how to identify a subscript and a coefficient, let's try to discuss step in balancing chemical equation. First, write the unbalanced chemical equation and follow correctly the rules in writing the formulas. Example, we had the sodium chloride and barium oxide produce sodium oxide and barium chloride. With the same given equation, second, take note of the elements present in the reactants and product side. For the reactants, on your left side, you have sodium, chlorine, barium, and oxygen. On your right side, the products are sodium, oxygen, barium, and chlorine. With the same equation, third, count the number of atoms of each element present in the reactants and product side. From the reactants, our sodium has 1 atom, our chlorine has 1, barium has 1, oxygen has 1. For the products, our sodium has 2 atoms, oxygen has 1, barium has 1, chlorine has 2. With the same equation, Fourth, apply the law of conservation of mass to get the same number of atoms of every element on each sides of the equation. As you can see from the equation, the barium and oxygen appear to balance already. So proceed to balance sodium and chlorine. But first, take note of the following. Balance chemical equation by placing the appropriate coefficients before the symbol or formula. To balance sodium and chlorine, we should consider by finding their LCN. In mathematics, LCN means the least common multiple. With the same equation, let us now try to use the LCN. For the sodium, we already identified that there are one atom in the reactants and two atoms in the product. So getting the LCN, it is equal to 2. Why? Because 1 times 2 is equal to 2. From the reactants, we had sodium has 1 atom. Multiplied by 2 will be equal to 2 atoms of sodium. For the product, we have already 2 atoms of sodium multiplied by 1 is equal to 2 atoms of sodium. So the atoms in the reactants and the product are already equal. Okay, for the chlorine, we also have 1 atom and 2 atoms. Getting the LCN, it is equal to 2. So for the chlorine under the reactants, you have 1 atom multiplied by 2, it is equal to 2 atoms of chlorine. And for the product, 2 atoms multiplied by 1 is equal to 2 atoms of chlorine. So the chlorine in the reactants and the product are now the same, which is 2. They are already balanced. Place the number 2 as coefficient in the equation, and coefficient 1 is no longer written. Why? Because if you can recall from your mathematics, any variables or number multiplied by 1 will appear to be the same variables and number. Okay? Next, do not change the subscript of the formula in attempting to balance the equation, as it will change the identity of the component. From the product, our sodium has a subscript of 2 and our chlorine has also have a subscript of 2. With the same equation, we check the number of atoms in the equation. For the reactants and product, we have done this already earlier. Our sodium has 1 atom multiplied by 2 equals 2 atoms. For the chlorine, 1 atom multiplied by 2 is equal to 2 atoms. Barium is 1, oxygen is 1. For the product, our sodium is already 2 atoms multiplied by 1 is equal to 2 atoms. Oxygen has 1 atom, barium has 1, chlorine is already 2 atoms multiplied by 1 is equal to 2 atoms. So as you can see, the reactants and the product of the said elements are already equal, or they are balanced. Okay, so the said equation is already balanced. So as we can say, chemical equation is now balanced. It follows the law of conservation of mass. Okay, I have here another example. We had here calcium reacts with hydrochloric acid. Produce calcium chloride plus hydrogen gas. Okay, so we had here some symbols that represent the element. The shape of a circle represents the calcium, the diamond is for the hydrogen, and the chlorine for rectangle. So the same thing with the product. We had here the circle as for the calcium and two rectangle for the chlorine since it has a subscript of 2. And for the hydrogen gas, we have two diamonds since it has a subscript of 2. Getting or using the LCM, we had 2. So there are only 1 atoms of hydrogen and chlorine in the reactants, while in the product, our chlorine and hydrogen gas has 2 atoms. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2, which is the LCM. So placing the 2 in the reactants, we can observe now that there are already 2 hydrogen, which is the mono, and 2 chlorine, which is the rectangle. So observing the shape, from the reactant there is 1 calcium, and for the product there is also 1 calcium. From the reactant, our hydrogen, which is the diamond, are already 2, and our chlorine has 2 rectangle, which is the chlorine also. And the same thing with the product, there are only 1 calcium, 2 rectangle that represents the chlorine, and 2 diamond that represents the hydrogen gas. So the equation is now balanced based on the given symbols or shape. Since you know already how to balance an equation using the law of conservation of mass, let's have one activity. Learning task 1. Identify the balanced and unbalanced equation. 1. You have calcium chloride and zinc oxide produce calcium oxide and zinc chloride. Is the equation balanced or unbalanced? Okay, very good. It is a balanced equation. Next, we had here an aluminum combined with oxygen gas produce aluminum oxide. Is it balanced or unbalanced? So I'm going to give a clue, which is the subscript. Okay, your answer please. Okay, very good. It is a unbalanced equation. And below that one, this is the correct balance equation. You have 4 moles of aluminum and 3 moles of oxygen produce 2 moles of aluminum oxide. Next, we had lithium sulfate and sodium carbonate produce lithium carbonate and sodium sulfate. Is it balanced or unbalanced? Okay, very good. The answer is a balanced equation. Next, we had here zinc react with copper sulfate, produce zinc sulfate and copper. Is it a balanced or unbalanced equation? Okay, very good. Our answer is a balanced equation. Next, we had here the sodium combines with oxygen gas produce magnesium oxide. Balanced or unbalanced? Okay, very good. The answer is unbalanced equation. And the correct balance equation is you had here the magnesium plus oxygen gas produce 2 moles of magnesium oxide. Since you know already how to identify a balanced and unbalanced equation, let's have the next activity, learning task 2. Balance the following chemical equation and apply the principle of the law of conservation of mass. First, you have iron and sodium bromide produce ferric bromide plus sodium. Okay, analyze the equation and apply the principle of the law of conservation. Okay, let us now check your answer whether we have the same answer. Okay, we had here iron plus 3 moles of sodium bromide produce ferric bromide plus 3 moles of sodium. Okay, next equation. We had here hydrogen gas combined with oxygen gas produce water, which is H2O. Try to balance it using the said law of conservation of mass. Okay, let's check your answer again. So the answer is 2 moles of hydrogen gas plus oxygen gas produce 2 moles of H2O, that is the water. Next, we had here an equation of mercuric oxide produce mercury plus oxygen gas. Try to balance it. Okay, let's check again your answer. So our answer is 2 moles of mercuric oxide produce 2 moles of mercury and oxygen gas. Okay, since you know already how to balance an unbalanced equation, how about if we try to apply it to balance our life? So let's apply it to real life situation. In this new normal, how will you keep yourself balanced in terms of physical and mental health? Do you have any idea? Okay, I can share my own observation. Take care of your health. Okay? How will you take care of your health? We know already that you must try to have 8 hours normal sleeping. Do some exercise, drink 8 glasses of water, eat the right fruits and vegetables, and avoid smoking, drinking hard drinks, and eating foods that is not healthy to our body, so that we will have a healthy life and the heartbeat is also healthy. We must have a healthy lifestyle. So we must take care of our health. As we can say, health is wealth, and health affects the movements of our daily life. Next, keep away from toxic environment. Okay, how will you keep away yourself? So try to neglect negative vibes. So your environment is not helpful. So accept positive vibes where you are happy with your friends. You're already contented. Next, treat yourself. Now, how are you going to treat yourself? Yes, you could go outside. Go to your favorite restaurants or fast food. Eat healthy foods. Avoid eating unhealthy foods. Or go out with your friends. Go some hiking or walking. Or let's say during the weekdays you're already tired. You're always have yourself overexhausted. So during weekends, you try to sleep so that your body and mind will be relaxed. That is how you're going to treat yourself. Next, explore your environment. How are you going to explore your environment? Okay, so exploring your environment, you have your family with you. Or you could bring your favorite pet. Or you could go by your own, go to a place where you're going to observe the nature, where you think you will be happy. But before you do that, you must try to follow the proper protocol, which is social distancing, wear your proper mask and face shield to keep away from the diseases nowadays, which is the COVID-19. Next, okay, have fun. Now, how are you going to have fun? Especially weekends, Saturday and Sunday, you could be with your family, your friends, or you could go with them, make some conversation to make yourself happy, or play games with them, playing Scrabble, Domino, and so forth. Or with your latest gadgets, you could go with your friends, make some conversation, watch your favorite movies using your internet. So these are some of the few things that will make yourself balance. A balanced life, you could expect it that you will have a healthy living, wherein you could have a peaceful mind, a body that is physically fit. Okay, so mentally, morally, spiritually, you are healthy. You could dream bigger and your security of your health is already 100%. Okay, let's have a short quiz. Honesty is the best policy. Okay, multiple choice. Choose the letter of the correct answer. 1. The following statement is true on the law conservation of mass, except A. Mass is conserved in a chemical reaction. B. The total mass of the reactants is equal to the total mass of the product. C. New atoms are created or destroyed. D. There was grouping or regrouping of atoms. Answer please. Okay. Which chemical equation is balanced using the law of conservation of mass? A. Calcium carbonates and zinc sulfate produce calcium sulfate and zinc carbonate. B. Sodium chloride and iron carbonate produce sodium carbonate and ferrous chloride. C. Aluminum oxide and potassium iodide produce aluminum iodide and potassium oxide. D. Aluminum combined with oxygen gas produce aluminum oxide. Okay, next. How is chemical equation balanced? A. Changing the subscript. B. Adding coefficient. C. Adding elements. D. Erasing the elements. Okay? Next, a chemical reaction is a process in which A. All reactant change state. B. Product change in reactant. C. The law of conservation of mass applies. D. All of this. Okay? Next, which of the following is the correct balance equation of calcium chloride reacts with aluminum, produce calcium plus aluminum chloride? A. Calcium chloride plus 3 moles of aluminum produce calcium plus aluminum chloride. B. 3 moles of calcium chloride and 3 moles of aluminum produce 3 moles of calcium and 3 moles of aluminum chloride. C. 3 moles of calcium chloride and 2 moles of aluminum produce calcium and 2 moles of aluminum chloride. D. 3 moles of calcium chloride and 2 moles of aluminum produce 3 moles of calcium and 2 molecules or moles of aluminum chloride. Okay, let us try to check your answer. Again, honesty is the best policy. Okay, the answer are 1 is C, 2 is A, 3 is B, 4 is C, and 5 is D. Okay, who get 5 points? Okay, very good. You have an excellent work. 4 points. Okay, very good. 3 points. Good. 2 points. Fair. 1 point. Poor. Okay? Thank you for listening and hope you'd learned something from our discussion today. Okay? Keep safe and God bless. Again, this is Ramonita Florentino, your science teacher.